You appreciate her showing up for us.
Okay, tell them why I'm late.
Okay, what was it successful?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Why was she late? She wants to tell it, you know. She doesn't want me to. She just said little girl's room. Is that what you call little? Where's Brian? All right. Now, pretty soon, I want you to really give some applause because Brian Williams is due in the room. I heard that. I'll believe it pretty soon, perhaps. Yeah, little boy's room, little girl's room. Maybe they got it mixed up. Who knows?
I've always wanted to go in that other one, but...
If you went in the little boy's room, you might be severely disappointed.
Why do you think they call it little?
That was mean. Oh man, I'm in the wrong place here. Can I move over?
Payback.
Well, but while we're just fooling around here, Vi, would you like to know how many mercury fillings each of these people has in their mouth?
Would everybody that's got mercury fillings please stand up?
This is quite a combination of intelligence and gifts that we are blessed with today. Some of you have asked what happened to Brinkley, and Danian has apologized, but the lady who does his scheduling, frankly, did not read the letter that we sent to them in May, asking to schedule him here, and so she scheduled him for an airplane within the hour or so, so he had to leave about 15 minutes ago. He has left a message which you will hear for this, but he didn't know about it. So that is one thing that you have asked about 12 of you already, and that's why that didn't work out. When we go into this last hour panel, we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. We just put it together as the idea of what we might expect in the future. And so, as we go down the line here, or come up the line, whatever, I would like for for them to tell us what they see, because some of them have been gifted in different areas of future events and what we might do about it, or what we might do to be ready for it as much as possible. So, all right, Marilyn, Smith, or Tom, whichever it may be, if you would start first and give us a couple of minutes of what you have to share.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have information in a little different areas than you're accustomed to my speaking about. I know I communicate with Thomas Jefferson, but also there are others. And I have received a lot of information and have channeled and spoken with Mother Earth herself.
Could you hold a moment, Marilyn? Here's Brian Williams. Would you tell? Sorry to interrupt you, but Brian, where the heck were you? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did, Marilyn. Please go ahead.
No problem. Okay, is this close enough? Oh, yeah. The information I have received about the future is not the kind of prophecy of what is going to happen, but how the world will be in the future. And mostly the information I've received are messages and information from the Earth herself about how it will be, can be, and how to do it. I have received much information on new ways of gardening and agriculture, new ways of feeding the plants, communicating with the nature spirits, teaching people to communicate with nature. I have received information on ways of making pyramid structures with hydroponic systems around them in 5 layers, a number of things like that, like sort of a technological nature, of which I have yet to do anything with. But we will have an entirely different way of growing food. The food will be done not only organically, but grown with sound, color, music, vibration, resonance, harmonics, and all the things we've been talking about. Because I have a background of study in sound, color, and vibration. And when I work with plants, I use music and light, and I make tones and a number of other things. So the picture I have is the potential restoration of the original beauty of the earth as she was in the beginning. I have seen visions of such magnificent beauty is just indescribable, where everyone will communicate with the plants. We will be able to speak with and communicate with the nature spirits and the fairies and the divas. And it's a very beautiful and loving experience. So we will be learning new ways and technology of growing everything that we have. The earth changes, as we are called coming up, is just the earth's way of releasing her negative energy and healing herself. So far, I have not had a chance to do anything with the information that I have received. So I don't have any dire predictions, because what I see is very beautiful. And I'd like you to keep that picture in mind, because that keeps me along the straight and narrow, knowing that where we're headed is towards a period of such beauty and such joy and such love. There are no words to describe it. So keep that in mind when we experience some of the things that are coming, because I have seen the beauty of what is to come. And even though some of it may be difficult, the experience is well worth it because of what the end result will be.
Did I lose my, okay. Dolores, you've always, I've been quite curious as to whether Nostradamus, anything new has come from him lately.
Okay.
Also, I was wondering, you've been with him so many times.
Definitely.
Did you get on a first-name basis with him? And
Yes, I got to where I felt like a very stupid student with a very stern schoolmaster.
I often wondered if you were
Yeah.
able to get to the place where you could call him Nosti.
Nasty, okay. Oh, I don't know if he'd like that particularly. Yeah, but I don't know if most of you know or not, but I do not channel myself. That the 3 books I wrote on the Nostradamus prophecies came through my work with hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And they contain about half of the information that we got altogether. Because it was the first time in history all 1,000 of the quatrains have been interpreted and had to be put in some kind of order. And I've talked for days on the prophecies. There is so many of them. I'll try to just focus on what we are having right now, because we are right in the middle of it. I do agree with Marilyn, though, that he did see the good as well as the bad, but he said we have to get through this time first. This he called the time of troubles until the end of the decade of the 90s. And there was many events we were going to have to go through before we could get to the time of the great genius and enter the 1,000 years of peace, when there are these wonderful things that she's talking about. But first we have to get through this time right now. But he did see the possibilities of going into the Third World War, which would be the most horrible war in history. And so far he's been on target, because he gave us a step-by-step scenario of starting with the Gulf War. We were given the dates of the Gulf War 3 times before it occurred, and we were told about the wars in Bosnia. Only thing is, he called it the gray area, and he said there would be an escalation after the Gulf War. There'd be an escalation of small wars in the Middle East, and then you would go to war in the gray area of Europe. He called it the gray area because he said you don't know if you're in Europe or if you're in Asia, and he didn't have a name for Yugoslavia, so he called it Macedonia and Albania. He said, you go in there, you're not going to get out. And he did say if you could keep from going in before the end of 1995, we'd be okay. So what happened? 1995, we sent the troops in, and Clinton said we would have them out in a year. Well, Nostradamus said we would not get out that soon. One of the prophecies that did come true, he said we would have a Democratic president during the time of troubles, and the Democratic president would lead us into this Third World War, mostly for economic reasons. That's why everything that's happening, to me, it's very scary because it's been right on target. We're trying to avoid these things, and yet we are still leading right into it. The terrorism that has been occurring in the last few days was predicted. He said this is one of the ways the Third World War would be fought. It would be secretly and in the shadows, and especially if you strike at what the nation holds dear. Its culture centers, its religious centers, the basis of the country. This is the way you could fight a war underhandedly. And I'm hoping, a few years ago when this came up about the terrorism, they did put extra security around the museums, and I'm hoping they're going to do that again. Because during that time, a museum in Rome was hit by terrorists. Because not only the airports or the embassy and the government buildings, Nostradamus said it would be the centers of culture, because that is how you get to the morale of the people, by attaching the centers of their belief. So I'm hoping that's not going to happen, but there is a definite warning there. He gave many prophecies about computers, that when this was happening in the 1980s, I thought, oh yeah, maybe in 100 years. Instead, they've all come true within 10 years. He foresaw the World Wide Web. He didn't call it that, but he described it perfectly. And he talked about what we're calling smart cards and the possibility of putting chips in people so they can be monitored. He saw the next advances in computers would be by voice, activated by voice, and we're already got those inventions. After that, they would be activated by thought. They're working on that now. And the next ones after that are going to be organic computers, and this will carry us into the time of the great genius. The great genius would invent the organic computers, and now the latest results, they are working on the DNA computers, which are based on the DNA in the body, which is supposed to be 1 million times faster than any computer known on Earth, and 100 million times more accurate. This is the new advances, but he saw all of these things when he talked to us. But these organic computers will be used by the great genius, because in that time we will be living in space, traveling in space. The human body will be perfected to where it will never die. So there's in the 1,000 years of peace after the millennium, there's wonderful futures ahead. We got to get through this time period right now. And there were many, many natural disasters that he has seen that will keep increasing. He said it won't take a war to empty the coffers of the world. You can do it by natural disasters. And this is what's happening now. The increase in earthquakes, the increase in the volcanism in the Ring of Fire, and the weather changes. He said you'll get to where you won't know one season from the next. So all of these things are coming true, and it's amazing to be in the middle of this. But we were also told we can stop these effects by the use of our mind. By thinking positive in the opposite direction, we can counter the negative predictions. So you're probably going to want to get into some specifics, so I'll leave it at that.
All right.
now. Okay.
All right. Danny, thank you very much, Doris. Danny, at some point I'd like to have you read, and you probably are going to anyway, the translation of what was given to you this morning.
Okay, I first got a message to give to everyone. I talked to Daniel just before he left, and he apologizes that he couldn't be here, but his schedule's kind of hectic. And he wanted everyone to know that he loves you all very much. And he said you will all be in his prayers. And he said he looks forward to seeing you all again. And God bless all of you. So that was from Daniel. Now, the message I had, Sylvia Green. Sylvia, are you here? Where are you? I can't see her. She had translated the language that I kind of messed up on. And I'd like to read it to you. It says, in the beginning, the Great Spirit made the waters and all creatures that swim. He made the dry land and all things that walk, crawl, and fly on it. He made the trees and the grasses and all things that grew in and or on it. Then he made man and woman. He commanded that all love each other and dwell in peace. Then he came to walk with them, and they knew him not. And I messed up on the rest. So that was it. And that was from Sylvia Green. Now, the things that I'm shown, things that's going to happen, I'm not given specific dates. I'm given time spans. And that could be, they always repeat things like in the first month or the 6th month, and then they give the year. You're going to be looking at, things have already escalated. And when these things begin to escalate, they always say, mankind, not our Father, has escalated the things soon and yet to be. And you see what has happened here with the bombing that's taken place. You're going to see on your 4th month, your 6th month, your 8th month, and your 12th month of your year 1999 as what you know is the Y2K problem, as the way they explain it to me is the machine that man uses to calculate and to process his thoughts. You're going to see these things begin to happen as early as the 4th month of 1999. You're going to see in the 6th month of the year 1999 the one known as the Antichrist. He is going to rise out of the Mediterranean area. His right hand is going to be that of the Middle East. His left hand is going to be that of the Catholic Church. You're going to see, I would say, by the 11th to the 12th month of the year 1999, he will be world renowned internationally. Everyone will know him as a great man of peace. When he comes public within the 6th month, you're only going to know him just passing through the media. You're going to see the devastation begin. It's already began. As everyone always says, have God give me one more sign. You're going to see, oh boy. You're going to see by the latter part of 1999, going in, I would say the 8th to the 9th month of the year 1999, going into no later than your year 2000, at least by the 4th to the 5th month, you are going to see the most greatest peace treaty ever signed in the history of man. That treaty is going to be a 7-year peace. That peace is only going to last half its span. That will move things to the year 2003, the middle 2003, into the early part of 2004. When this treaty is broken, and I repeat that, when the treaty is broken, and it will be, when that treaty is broken, you're going to see the most devastating, horrible war that mankind has ever witnessed. This war will last 42 to 44 months. When this takes place, at the same time this is taking place, you are still having the earth changes. You're having biological warfare. You're having terrorism increase tenfold worldwide as it's doing right now. So, you've not only got the war coming ahead of us, but it's the nightmare that's coming too. You're going to see devastate. It'll be hell on earth. There's no other way to try to describe it. That is why all the messages come back. We've got to join together. We've got to love each other. In here, there's no time for gossip and rumors and things. You've got to know now. You're going to see, if you go by the Mayan calendar, you're looking at time as mankind knows it on December 24th of the year 2012. Time as mankind knows it will cease. You're going to see the most greatest, most wonderful spiritual rebuilding that mankind has ever witnessed in its history take place in the year 2013. So it's very important that what we do here, the panel that's here, everyone that's here, open your hearts, open your minds. But I want to repeat again, the message I was given when all this had started said this is for all people of all races, of all religious beliefs that believe in God or the Great Spirit, of all worlds. Not world, worlds. That's where you come in. If you've ever watched the videos, if you've ever watched the photographs and the things that Brian Williams has taken, you'll notice something. Why do these vortexes exist? Why is it that every one of the safe zones that they have shown to me for mankind to survive, why are they hot spots for UFO activities? They're here to help. We're not the only ones here. God's telling you now, you have to do something about it now. Those of you that was to hear the message will know and hear. Not here, here. And it's up to you, all of you, to know what you have to do about it. Not me, you. And thank you. I've got to pass it on.
Thank you.
I just
Thanks,
wanted to tell you, that in my books there is a picture of the third Antichrist and a great deal of information about him. Okay, and he's right in his descriptions.
I would like to ask any of you if you see specifically what we might call martial law in this country, as you either now or later on.
Let's go first.
Okay, Judy.
We touched on this a little bit last night, and I just want to reiterate for some of you that were not here last night. The ancient mysteries are about to be revealed. They are being opened. There have been attempts to do this ahead of time. That's not going to happen. There are people walking on the face of the earth now that have a vibratory rate that is part of a key, that's part of a process. These people are visiting these places. They are bringing the vibration and changing the mechanism that is opening the doorways to release the ancient mysteries. Between the year 1999 to 2000, and I'm not real sure where this will all fall, there will be a massive number of children between the ages of birth to 3 years that will die very mysteriously. We won't really understand that it's as broad as it is until perhaps in the later phase of it. And we won't even really understand what it's all about. But it's an attempt to choke out and squelch the gifted ones that are coming, the ones that are supposed to help save our future. Next year, an unknown artist, musical artist, an unknown artist at this time will release some music that will alter vibrations and alter emotional states of the people that listen to it. And it's like a key that will open you up, and it will have an extraordinary impact on those that listen to it. And the artist probably will never make another group of music or songs. In the crop circles, either next year or the following, as one of them appears, an object is going to be left behind. That object will have no apparent seams, no apparent openings, no apparent buttons to push, nothing that would make you think there's a way to open, operate, or use it, and it will contain an extraordinary energy. There will be a tremendous effort to suppress it and to hide it, but there is a youth that will know about it, that will leak it out, that will give confirmation to the fact that it's there. I'm not real sure just how it will impact us, except that I know that it is an attempt for those that are going through the vortexes and creating the crop circles. It is an attempt to bring energy and knowledge to us to help us. When you go home, hug your companion, hug your children, love yourself, love your neighbors, love the earth, love the world. There is no greater force, no greater energy than that. And no matter what is coming, no matter what, that is the one thing that is the strongest factor that we have going for us.
Okay, Brian?
Want to talk about prophecy? All right. I was going to give up prophesizing, I think it was around 3 months ago, because I was tired of being a doomsday prophet. I wanted to prophesy something nice, but it didn't seem to work. What I do best is I read mass consciousness, human mass consciousness and what it wants. A lot of people come up to me and they ask me, about this date, that date, what's going to happen. And I'm like, look, it can all change. All mass consciousness has to do is shift. You see, the people that want things to shift that are in this room, you come from all around the country. Look how many people are here. What, maybe 200, 300? Against, how many are in the United States? 200 million? I think we could have got a little better percentage than that. And that's the biggest problem. I do know this. For the last 3 years, I've been telling people, through the use of what I would call visualization, that I've been trying to reduce crime on the East Coast. And I'll do the spell every 3-4 months to reduce crime. And a month ago, the papers broke that crime was reduced in the last 3 years 24% on the East Coast. And they're all like hyped about it, and they're all shocked about it. And that's real good. Let's say even if it's half of that, 12%, that's real good. See, there's a number of us, magically, that's like a subculture, another type of subculture, that actually work on lowering things in the United States. Most people don't know me for this. Very select group of metaphysicians, some alchemists, some witches, all put in there, that all believe that we just keep concentrating just a few very powerful people that we can reduce it. We can, but I tell you, we were losing big time. It's going to happen on June 6, 1999, as Saddam Hussein is going to attack Jordan so we can get to Israel. All right. In the year 2001, I will open a doorway to Enoch by using the power of the vortex, because we use both ways. And people will pass through that want to go kind of an ascension, like the ascension people like to think in linear terms. Are you going to get in a ship, or are you going to rise up and go and fly away, or go to another planet or another place? Ascension can also go through to a higher octave. This has been predicted about me, and I'm right on schedule with this. 2003, Not sure what month. It hasn't been decided yet. It depends on the major natural Earth vortexes that are here. The astral and the third dimensional plane will mend together in one blink of an eye, and at that point there will be a war globally. And there, as a race, we're going to have to fight for our existence against all the ships that I photographed last year and the dragons and our Atlantean ancestors that are flying them. So far, all that is right on schedule. In the year 2007, our water supply is going to be so damaged that we're going to have to dig further and further down into the earth to get water. Like a long time ago when Mesopotamia was like the top spot to be, water came from way deep in the earth, not from the clouds. And there we're going to run into what I call the Amachu. And the Amachu are known as Bigfoot. And the doorway for their karma will open up in that year again. And they're going to make contact with these miners, and they're going to show us, they're going to come up and they're going to show us how to make giant, how to clean our water, and how to make giant curtains of water that will be spread all around the country and all around the world, that our air will go through and will filter out the impurities. The air will just naturally travel through. And why is because one of the predictions that I made 3 years ago was that in Brazil there was a plant planted by the dragons, and this plant, you know, each year it grows, it dies, grows and dies, and on the third year its pollen is poisonous to humankind, and in that there's going to be a lot of respiratory problems, especially here in South America and the United States in the year 1998, and now we're seeing that the respiratory problems are really coming about now, and it is the third year that this plant has grown. There's some people looking for the plant that are down there, but maybe I have to go down there and try to find it. Maybe I'll recognize it. I believe that the Antichrist, as far as I'm concerned, is still in Boston. Every time anybody asks me about him, or it, I guess there's a better terminology, Boston just keeps on glowing. So this creature has been there now for about a year and a half, as I can see it. But he's got, a lot of players, all around the world. I believe right now, too, that Indonesia is where he's drawing his energy through in the planet. You see, he likes to go to certain areas. Even though he's in Boston, he'll suck energy from certain areas. We made the prediction last year that when Mexico burned, that he'll be done with Mexico, because he's been working there. He's been drawing energy there for about the last 2 years or so, and it's burning, and now he's gone. Now it's Indonesia. So look for Indonesia this year for all kinds of weird stuff, earthquakes and disasters, because wherever he draws his energy through. See, the planet's like it has all these grid lines. The Antichrist is quite familiar with these grid lines, especially since it's a fallen angel. And then it goes where the grid line opens, or vortex opens, and he draws its energy through. But there is hope, because on September 9th, the year 2011, is the day the Antichrist and the Christ, as you would know it, or as the Bible would state it, will go at it. And this war, which starts in the year 2003, will be over. There'll be a time until the year 2025 of adjustment. We're going to have a Native American president in the year 2015. And after the year 2025, the controlling government as we know it will cease to exist, because it'll just peter out. It's going to be a lot of changes coming through, especially with the aliens from the astral, both good and bad coming through. And then that time of peace that everybody talks about will, I imagine, come about, because I don't see anything real hectic after that, at least as I'm concerned. But I tell you this, all you have to do is all shift. But not just the people in this room. You got to go out, you got to shift, 1 or 2% of the world. And I know that's probably 10 million people or 20 million people. The kind where if you give them, $200 million, they just leave it and walk away. Because money changes people. I've seen it, you've seen it. You can get some of the most spiritual people in the world. They hit the lottery, next thing you know, they're driving vets. They got a big house. What happened to the spiritual thing? And we've all seen this, and I see this a lot in New York City. And since New York City is a major power center for this country, I concentrate on New York. It's why I'm going back instead of staying here. Because I can stay here now. I don't have to go back to the East Coast. But I'm going to go back and give it one more chance and work with the Vortex and Wanacue there, and Montauk and Pine Bush, and talk with the metaphysicians there and see what we can do. But I watch June 6th next year. A lot's going on with Saddam Hussein. He's a major player in what you would call earth changes. And if he goes at Jordan on June 6th, then I believe most of what I'm talking about will come true. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Now, would any of you five care to comment on anything that anybody else has said?
Start a fight, right?
All right, we're open for questions. If you'd like to line up for questions to this group, because where are you going to get this concentration of gifted visionaries? The one question that I was asking, if anybody sees something as immediate in the immediate future, like this year or sometime, of martial law, a type of thing being enacted.
Okay, what I was talking about before, I've asked a lot of people, and by the way, I haven't even seen my tapes from Denver or from Florida yet. But I've been asking people, how did you get my name and how did you get my number and how did you get the tape? Well, I had a lady had said, well, Danny, I don't know, your number's on the outside of the tape. And she said, and all is up in the right-hand corner is number 186. The underground. I did not see the underground coming into being until at least the year 2003, just before the war commenced. The underground's already here. You're going to see 186, that was the number. Through the underground network, they had been pre-recording all these tapes. And she had tape number 186. They didn't get them through Dean. And I said, well, where did you get it from? And she said, through our underground network. All of things that they get from Dean and Global Sciences and all these other networks around the states and around the world go through this. This couple was out of Kansas City. I've talked to couples out of Austin, Texas. And I'm amazed at how many people said, well, Danny, you don't dare pick this kind of stuff up at your local bookstores. But I did not see it coming this early. I would say no later than the end of 2002 to 2003. What information you can get it now. Because you're not going to have the opportunity to later. Mankind, remember that, mankind, not our Father, not the Great Spirit, has escalated the things soon and yet to be. You can alter the events that's coming, whether it be good or whether it be be bad. But that network is here now and it's alive. And the most hottest thing they've got going through it, believe it or not, is global science. Everything that they can get their hands on is going through this network. So I'm sorry here.
We don't know. I guess that's something new to us.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have anything about martial law per se, but we do have information also about the underground. And this had to do with the computers and the advancement in computers, and that in the future there would be chips or some kind of identifying thing would be put in the person's hand, and he saw that everyone would have a number, and that number would contain all the information about the person, and that in the future, if the person was decided they were not desirable, they were unproductive, handicapped or whatever, they could be eliminated because all the information would be in the computer. But these marks would be put on the hand, the arm, or on the forehead, which sounds just like Revelation in the Bible, and you would have to be read by a laser beam to go in and out of buildings, to work, or to buy food, which is right out of Revelation. And the underground that he saw would be those who did not want to be a part of all of this, and they would have to operate outside of the system because they wouldn't be able to buy, sell, work within the cities. And to maintain their underground status, they would have to be outside and be supplied by other people. So there definitely was an underground system that he saw. But same way, when I got this information was in the 80s, I thought, oh, maybe in 100 years, because I just got my first computer. Everything he saw has been happening in 10 years, which is quite amazing. But I don't have anything about martial law per se.
Okay.
He saw money changing and things like that in the European common market and everything going into one money. Maybe somebody else has got something about martial law. Okay.
I don't have anything about martial law specifically, except that I have received this similar information to what Dolores was talking about, which is the reason we're all being guided to withdraw from the system as much as possible. I have received underground tapes for a number of years from various people. In fact, I've been giving people Global Sciences tapes above ground. I didn't know I was supposed to do it underground. There I go, foot in the mouth all the time. Boy, I'm a big mouth. I just go out and blab to everybody without even thinking about it. But I do feel that any problems we might have with military or whatever the word is, will affect mostly people in the larger cities to start with. So it is best to be prepared and get the information, which hopefully explains why I've been spending all my money buying books like crazy instead of, that I don't really need right now. It's like I feel like I'm storing up.
Okay, thank you. Now, as I see it, we've got a list of at least eight questions coming up. So you're first. And to give your name as the other lady asked today, so that we know who you are.
My name is Bill Mee, and I would like to ask anyone on the panel there if they have any information on Russia's role in all of this, and are they going to strike the United States, Russia and China, and possibly when?
I have some information on China and Russia. It came through about a month ago. Devron had said that it's shifting, but it definitely will happen. Here's the time frame. From 1 month ago, either 38 weeks or 38 months, China will attack Russia, and Russia and China will have a major war. Now, we're seeing right now there's a lot of devastation in China, which is causing a lot of problems, especially psychologically, okay, with people. So it's just funny you should ask that, because people right now are looking at that prediction, and they're trying to figure it out. And I asked Dev, I said, how come such a wide doorway there, and what's the 38 mean, and I still really haven't gotten the information on that, but that is what was predicted.
Yeah, we have information both about Russia and China, but we don't have anything to fear. The war will come from the Middle East. That is where the danger will originate. And that he said Russia is going to be so involved with their economic problems that when Russia began to go down as far as economic problems, it would escalate and the rest of the world would follow. And that we were definitely not supposed to give them money to get out of it, or we would go down with them. And we've just voted to give them money. And he said, so we're playing into the hands, that China was the sleeping dragon, but it would eventually get its freedom, but it was going to take a long time. But that the United States would not be involved in war with either one, that the war would come from the Middle East. He was very emphatic about that.
Okay, there's a lot of news and a lot of media that you cannot get here in the United States. What's making headlines right now in Europe, they're talking about the largest armament buildup in the history of World War I and World War II presently taking place right now. That came from the German network ZDF, ARD, Stern Magazine, one of the largest publications there. You're looking at Eurovision. They've just ordered 750 new warplanes going in here. You're seeing things being stockpiled within, of all places, the home of the supercomputer. You've seen here a while back when everyone's telephones kind of went haywire, the wireless phones and things, and they said, well, there was a satellite malfunctioned. Well, that's what they were saying over here. But what was making international headlines over there is they had just fired this computer up. They had never tested it before. The irony of the whole thing is this computer was able to command every satellite system that we have. As far as the Soviet Union, or Russia, I still call it Soviet. As far as Russia, you are seeing right now, they have already made, I call him the man in red. They have already made publicly, they've made it public knowledge that you are going to see Boris Yeltsin moved out very, very soon. You are going to see him take office. He has made the promise that upon his taking command, the military is behind him right now. Upon his taking charge, of the Soviet Union or Russia. He is the old Soviet-style government. The first place he says he will attack is going to be that of Israel. Second place he will attack is going to be that of the United States. If you've been keeping up to date on what's happening right now throughout the Muslim world, they are in an uproar over what the United States has done. And they have swore vengeance. And they will receive that vengeance. The attack you're going to see when it begins to happen to the United States, it's going to come in over Canada. It's going to come in through the East Coast. You're looking targeted areas, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, move up to Illinois and Chicago, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia. It's a fact. It's not fiction. I don't know why Dave Turner over here with CNN will not make these things public. This is world knowledge, world news. It's not fiction. You can contact any media, contact Great Britain. They'll tell you the same thing on things that's happening over here, things that's happening over there. The Pueblo Nation right now. Why do I have to find out from Europe what's happening over here? Do you realize they are right now in a crisis situation? I'm going to get in trouble for this, I know, but I don't care. But anyway, do you realize right now they are confiscating cars? They are beating, I mean, literally beating people on the Indian nations over here. And the Europeans are appalled because why doesn't our country do anything about it? No one knows. You don't hear it in Time, Newsweek, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. You don't hear it. Over there, it's making headlines. I'm sorry, I did it again here.
I just want to say I agree with him. I traveled all over Europe and all over the world. The news is totally different in every other country. You come back here, I say, oh, did you hear about so-and-so? They said, there's not a word about it. Over there,
I'm sorry. You're right.
okay, over there, they know what's going on in our country better than we do ourselves.
I wanted to ask Danny which specific countries were rearming. I didn't catch the countries that were rearming that you were referring to. And then we'll get to the next question, if that might be. I didn't get that. Did you folks get it? No. Okay.
The countries that you're seeing right now, you're seeing Italy, between the northern and the southern eastern coast of Italy. You are seeing the largest armament stockpile take place since World War II. Their target is Turkey. You are seeing what they call the industrialized seven. Those countries of the European Union. You are seeing Panzerwerk, Panzerworks, the largest tank division in the world, make the best tanks in the world. They have been working for the past 3 years, 7 days a week, 4 shifts a day. Reasons: they want to rearm the new European Air Force, the new European Army, the new European Navy. Anything that I've said to you, check it. Get with AP, UPI. Get with United Press International. Call Stern Magazine. ZDF has a branch office down here in New York City. They have one down here in Atlanta. Well, not down here, but up there, whatever. They have one there. I always lose where I'm at. But you know, these things are happening now. Why don't they say it over here? What is the big secret? This isn't a joke. These people are playing for keeps. You are going to see right now, taking place right now in the Czech Republic. Well, I spoke too much already. No, I'm going to get in trouble for this because it's all, is it still on tape? Yeah. Yeah, well, you're seeing these things take, for instance, what's happening within the Czech Republic. You are seeing camps being established. Think about that, camps. You're seeing the same kind of camps being established in the Czech Republic, being established here within the United States. These are camps where people like the people you see on this panel, we don't exactly fit in. We either work for them or we don't say anything at all. You're seeing within the United States right now, within UNESCO, is anyone familiar with UNESCO? Hands, please. Okay, bless your heart. You're seeing right now, they talked about a biodiversity map that's going to be happening within the United States. I talked with one of the authors of that map, and he's appalled because he said at the time this was being done, he said this was just an idea. He had no idea that it was going to be enacted as law. You're seeing troops presently right at Fort Polk, Louisiana, right here in the United States. Right now, troops are being trained. Police force for UNESCO. See, Americans don't shoot Americans. These things, the training's taking place right now. You look at the new, anybody in here in the military? Watch all the CIA agents stand up. Well, okay. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. On your ID card, did you have the one that I had, or did you have the one that said Geneva Convention?
Oh, no, Geneva.
Okay. I had the person that we're doing the research center with, their son just went into the military. And I kept trying to tell people, look on the new ID cards, the mark of the beast, you'll see it. Everyone is just amazed that this is taking place right now in Europe. They think it's a new fashion phase. It's either in the right hand, across the forehead. On children, they want to make it mandatory behind either ear. It's happening right now.
In Australia, they want to put chips in newborn babies because they're saying it would protect them against kidnapping. And they are meeting some opposition with that. In England, they are having cards that will have everything about you. These are all experiments now being conducted, and they're saying, we're going to see if it's going to work or not. But it is already in force. They do have chips in hands in Germany because they pass their hands over the computers when they go in stores and things. But so far, it's not happened in the States, except I heard about one bank, I don't know which one it is in New York, that said if you want a bank account, they'll have to put a chip in your hand to get it. Atlanta? Okay. These things are in the woodwork. They're not in the public notice, but they are happening. And when you travel, you know more and more about these things.
You reminded me, are the two men from the British Broadcasting Company in the room yet? Are they still here? I guess they had to leave. All right, next question.
Yeah, I might mention that if Daniel were here, because I heard him speak in Asheville recently, he says that the military is already being chipped now, and I've read that and spoken to people, so I know that's true, and I think there's a plan that be completed by October, if I'm not mistaken. Also, a lot of people were not aware that the Hillary Clinton's health care package many years ago that was so enormous that failed had a provision in there that all newborn babies would be chipped for identification. So this question is for Judy, and my name is Sylvia Jalot. Judy, I'm wondering, the comments that you made about the deaths of the children from birth to 3 years old, is this something that is going to affect the world globally, or as well as the United States? 1, 2, is this related possibly to vaccines and inoculations as far as infection? And 3, for those of us who are involved in helping these children, is there anything that can be done?
That is one of the ways that it's going to be attempted. That is not the only way that it's going to be attempted. There is a massive effort in spirit right now working against that. not only of spirit of our kind, but spirit of another kind, because this has been known for some time. It's probably the most extraordinary, brutal thing that anyone could think of to try to stop gifted children, children that can come in and make a difference, because this is our future. These are the ones that are coming in that are trying to turn things around. And there is this tremendous energy and spirit that's taking place right now with spirit of other civilizations, other universes, other planets. It's a massive concern, a massive effort to turn it around, and I'm hoping that it won't be as bad as what I see. And I'm sorry it makes me emotional, but it's only because I see it that I'm emotional. But I'm very active in it, and I would just encourage any of you to put your energies in saving our future generations and our future health. But that's extremely perceptive of you to pick up on that is the method. I did not want to introduce that, and I don't like prophecy, and the only reason I don't is because I feel like when I say these things, I'm putting my energy in behind it, whether I want to or not, and I have a discomfort zone in doing that, and that's why it's hard for me to talk about that, because I don't want to further that thought process in anyone's mind or in any form of energy. So you find that as a rule, I'm very private about those kinds of things, and I'm not real sure why I was allowed to sit here and say that kind of thing today.
Thank you, Judy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But I do want to say, once people know about it, then they can take the efforts to stop
To
these
stop.
things, especially with their mental powers.
I'm very glad you asked that question, because there have been things I wanted to talk about and have not had the opportunity until that question came up. But I am a pharmacist. I'm sorry about that. I work in traditional medicine, but prefer alternative, and I use that and steer people into alternative medicine as much as possible. I have much information on behind-the-scenes activity of the pharmaceutical companies. When we receive vaccines into the pharmacy that go to the clinic, most of which come from Merck, and you all have probably heard about Merck. The patients that come in the pharmacy get me on a soapbox, and I go into quite a tirade about it. Merck is, Dr. Horowitz talked about this in Daytona. They are probably the worst pharmaceutical company as far as contaminating medications and vaccines. But on the bottom of the invoice that we receive when we get an order, in little tiny print, it says, "We are not responsible for any adverse reactions as a result of using these vaccines." So they're disclaiming any responsibility. There is also a push on in the medical profession to advertise and push vaccinations and inoculations. There's a very strong advertising push. They've even gone so far as now to be sending things to pharmacies, trying to get it approved by the state boards for pharmacists to also give inoculations, so everybody can be sure to have some place to get theirs. They sent me an application to see if I wanted to, and supposedly this was a survey that didn't have any names on it, because they're not going to like, well, I sent them back some information they probably don't want to, maybe they didn't know, I don't know, but I definitely told them what I thought. So any prescription medications that you're taking, there are more problems than you realize. Some of the drugs that are coming out that are advertised to be one thing are really something else. There's some drugs out now. The latest one is a stop smoking pill. In reality, it's an antidepressant, very much like Prozac. So question and read it. What they tell you something is and what it really is not the same, and I wish that I was able to speak more on it, because the insurance companies and the drug companies have merged. The major drug companies have now bought the insurance processors and the drug mail order companies, and they control the entire medical industry, doctors, pharmacies, drugs, everything. And nothing has been done to stop this. And I have not had an opportunity to speak out about it, and I'm like Danny, I get very upset about it when I see what's going on, because I do as much as I can to inform people, but there is much about that that people need to know. So the medical information that is present here and what we're learning is so vitally important that it is important that you find some other ways, because there are cures for everything and there's other ways to do it, and the traditional way is not it.
Thank you.
Yeah, but the government is now trying to regulate herbs and natural things also.
Also, too, when I worked for Defense Intelligence Agents, I also worked for the international pharmaceutical industry. And if you just knew what I just saw, I mean, what I saw during this time, you'd never take another pill again. Just for health reasons alone. Rats, hair, all kinds of stuff going into
Yes,
the pills.
That's true.
All kinds. You would not believe the filth. And a lot of these laboratories look really, or manufacturing plants for OTC vitamins, which is over-the-counter vitamins and things like that. You know, they look all clean, but you just wouldn't believe it. And they don't care.
No.
But they do care on popping that pill out nice and clean looking, though, don't they? With their little things on it so that you can, when you look at it, it looks all nice and clean. But man, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And none of them are made in this country anymore. You would be, of course, that, come to think of it, that might be the best deal, if you look at it from what I know. But when we get a bottle in, a pharmacist is the only one that sees this, but in the little tiny print on the bottle, it'll come through maybe 3 or 4 countries before it actually gets on our shelf. The powder may be made in Taiwan. The bottle may come from Israel. The label is maybe printed in Canada or Mexico, and it was put together in Puerto Rico before it ever gets to us. But nothing is made here anymore. And from what Brian said, and from other factors, as a pharmacist, I have seen a very powerful increase in respiratory infections. Where we usually have them in the winter and it slows down in the summer, it has not done it. It has gotten worse and worse. You wouldn't believe the amount of newborns and young children that we have to put on breathing machines and nebulizers and inhalers for breathing and respiratory things, and it is getting more and more so.
Okay, thank you. Next question?
I'm Buzz Kutzler. We've heard a little bit about the food supply, and I'm concerned about the American farmer because the majority of the American farmers are going to face bankruptcy or foreclosure within the very next year due to the Freedom to Farm, the NAFTA treaty, and the GAP agreement. And it's going to turn the food supply into the hands of the conglomerate chemical people like Monsanto, and the consumers are going to be the ones that's going to pay and to suffer. And I'm just wondering what is ahead in the very near future for the American farmer.
You want to see what's happening with the American farmer? You can read a lot more about that also within the press throughout Europe. There's a lot of things the American farmer could have done and still can do to change what's happening, going into organic type growing. There's a lot that can be done, but when you start going into regulations, especially through the agricultural department, find out the bottom line, who is preventing these systems from being made public to the American farmer. The bottom line is FEMA.
I am an organic farmer, and the rest of the nations of the world protect their own farmers, but the United States doesn't.
No, they don't. You're starting to see right now, there's so many rules and regulations that's coming out, and it all comes under FEMA. It seems FEMA is supposed to be for federal emergency assistance, and it's turning out FEMA is coming under, which is supposed to be under New World Order. And, you know, there's a great, I'm going to get shot for this, but it's the truth. It's there. It's happening right now. You're watching our farmers lose everything they've got because of pesticides, chemicals, and God knows what else they've done. They've got a choice. You'll either do what the agricultural department tells you to do and implement these and rotate your crops as you're told, or don't ask for federal aid. Go cry to someone else. Don't come to us. But, you know, follow it back a little bit farther. It's better yet, start doing a little digging. Ask your congressman, ask your senator, start digging some facts up. You'll be amazed what you're going to find out. The bottom line is it comes back, all the way back to FEMA. And who's FEMA? Goes back to New World Order. So okay.
All right. Next question?
Oh, hello. My name is Ron Taylor. One of my concerns is that what we see happening is a breakdown in the division of labor. And I think the last question pinpointed that, because you're seeing the people who produce food being put into bankruptcy, and the people who need to eat food may not be able to get the food. One of the biggest problems I'm looking at here is the loss of the electrical power grid as a result of the Y2K problem or the Millennium Bug problem. I'd like to know if the panel foresees a major breakdown in the electrical grid, and also what any of the panel members may see in terms of the implementation and dissemination on a wide scale of the new energy technologies which are now emerging.
As for this grid, this electrical grid, I'm on top of this all the time because metaphysically it's very important. I will tell you this, it is fluctuating. That's why 2 weeks ago when Dr. Bruce Cornett called me up and said to look outside, and it looked gray and the sun was out, this is because we were experiencing a major solar flare that was hitting us. The grid is not going to break down, because if the grid breaks down, then we stop existing, because we run on electricity as humans. And we're not slated to be extinct for at least another 100,000 years as we know it. So I can't see this breaking down or electricity losing properties which would no longer allow it to exist.
I'm talking about the actual electrical grid in terms of the distribution of electrical power in this country.
Okay,
just
you're
to
not
be
talking
clear.
from space.
Not the grid system.
Yeah,
of,
but well, I just want
the
to say
Earth,
it's going to keep existing, and so are we. That I don't know.
All right. Next question.
I'm Bill Perry, and first I have two questions, one for Judy and one for Marilyn. Judy, would you elaborate whether that music you spoke of is going to be positive or negative? And you mentioned the musicians.
I'm sorry, perhaps I was not as clear as I should have been, but it is very, very positive, and it's going to unlock a lot of emotions and vibrations, but it is very positive, very, very, very positive.
Wonderful, thank you. Marilyn, would you elaborate on the dangers of Ritalin that is being dispensed to our children throughout the nation?
There is very much danger with it. There are other ways to treat with sound, color, and music. It has gotten to be pushed so much, people forget, and I don't mean to step on the toes of doctors, because there are many good ones, but most of their knowledge about drugs and what they use comes from the drug companies who are trying to sell it. And the drug salesmen come to the office and tell the doctor all of their good stuff, and that's where most of the information comes from, and actually they're not going to tell them anything negative. So there is much misinformation and lack of understanding, and the education of doctors on the drugs somehow needs to be changed, or something has to be done, because that is true. There is a problem with slowing the growth of the children, where their growth is stunted. Ordinarily, when they get older, they don't have a need for that anymore, but their growth is much stunted, and it does have an effect on them. Would that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Next question.
Hi, my name is Roxanne Carroll, and I'm going to address this mainly to Dolores and Brian, but anyone else is free to answer. I once read in the Nostradamus prophecies that the last war was going to be fought in the air for all the world to see. And as above, so below, based on that philosophy, that this war that many of you have just prophesied about, that don't you think that this is actually a galactic war, and that Earth is being used as a stage, and that the players such as Saddam Hussein is actually a representative for one side of this galactic warfare, such as the Dracos, and then the others are other ET representations, such as the Human Federation? And my question is that how we can shift the consciousness, okay, to perhaps prevent this from happening on a full scale. And I'm sure many of you will agree that the purpose of prophecy is to change it by creating and raising the awareness of the extraterrestrial and alien presence already here on and inside the Earth? And do any of you foresee that happening on the timeline?
You got a many-sided question there.
I know.
Okay, but I will say, and Brian may not agree with me, but I do, the information we have is the galactic forces are not involved in any kind of a war. We're going to do it ourselves. Many of the galactic people have been gathered to watch and see what we're going to do, because this is going to be a very important time in the history of the whole universe to see how far we will go and what we will do when we come down to the wire. But they are not fighting with us, and they're not using us as players. They're only observing. That's what I have. We're going to do enough to ourselves without any outside influence, really.
I agree completely. I don't have any ET contact. No extraterrestrial contact, only aliens. Big difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interdimensional war. The dimensions are coming together, and then we have major players, and they're going to fight it out. Actually, all they have to do is just stop. Just not fight. That's the Endorians keep saying. When they're making contact, they just want to understand how we can exist together. The dragons, well, they don't understand anything like that. Now, there was another part to your question with that. What was the other part to the question?
Well,
About how to
basically,
shift or something?
in terms of shifting consciousness, how the awareness of all the many ET races and alien species that have been interacting on our planet in the past and in the present can help shift the awareness and perhaps prevent a full-scale conflict, and how discerning these forces might help us wake the planet up out of what's going on behind the scenes, and how humanity has been manipulated by many of these beings for
No,
centuries.
they've not been manipulated
let me
at
try.
That's the Star Trek law
All
of
right.
non-interference is
All right.
very much in effect.
How do we
All they
get
is watch.
things to shift?
Well,
Okay.
only the good guys follow that.
Well, how do you get human
Non-interference.
mass consciousness to shift? You just prove it to them beyond a shadow of a doubt. See, now we're proving not beyond a shadow of a doubt with what we did here, with opening up the vortex and showing you what was in the room floating around, okay? Because that's still subject to, people can make excuses up, even in their own mind, whether they believe it or not, just to feel safe. And the aliens actually come in, and you can actually poke them and say, yeah, you're there, and they'll talk to you, and you're going to see a tremendous shift. That's why I keep telling people, they want to see aliens. You have no idea to turn around in the middle of nowhere, and 2 feet behind you stands a 5-foot-tall silver lizard in third dimension. It is something you will never forget, okay? And that will shift people.
All right.
The consciousness,
Okay.
it
So,
will
so you
shift.
see this happening.
Officially, all right, next question.
Thank you.
Officially, our time is up, but I'm going to implement a thing called executive privilege. And see if we can't. Now, when I looked before, there was 5 more people left, and see if we can't get 5 questions in. Okay, we'll try to handle them as quickly as we can. And next one up.
My name is David McMaster, and for me, part of this is becoming aware of the prophecies. At the same time, as powerful beings, and I consider this group here probably one of the most powerful groups assembled in the world at this time, that there's also an obligation, and that is to use our creativity and our reason for being here to transmute the prophecies. And the thought I had would be, and I'd like the panel to bring this into their heart and to see, but for this group, for 1 minute, to intentionally have the desire to open our individual hearts and to send love to the planet that we're in and to our fellow brothers and sisters without a particular outcome, but just with love and the intent of up-leveling any negativity.
We have that, you might say that's essentially planned already for the wind-up here.
Well,
But that's one thing they say, the most successful prophecy is the one that does not come true.
yes.
Okay.
So if Okay.
Or you're 94%, you're batting for zero.
So if we know what's going to happen, we are ahead of the game because we can focus on the opposite effect. Focus on peace and harmony, and that will be our reality. And this is the message I'm giving all over the world, and they're all taking it back to their homes and their groups. Maybe we're going to have some influence by telling people you don't know the power of your own mind. You can create your own reality, but you have to know what you want to create.
Okay, thank you.
And-
Next question.
And with that, there is a step.
Have you got a
we are-
question?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure. There is a step following where, as a group, we are intending to do that.
Have
Is
you
that
got a
right?
question?
Yes, that is my question.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
Next question, please.
I was wondering if Penny Conklin is in the room. Is she here, Patty? It was interesting that that Patty had the same prediction, the same message as Brian did of August 24th, 1998. And I thought some of the people here would find that interesting too. That she said when she was 7 years old, she got the message that she shouldn't be on the East Coast on August 24th, 1998. And that's the same prediction as Brian had. She kind of freaked out when she heard that. I thought the audience might find that interesting.
Is there a question? Would you care to elaborate any, Brian?
Well, we know that we're going to get hit by the hurricane. You see, the predictions already come true. It's a day the East Coast will rue, as I was told. The East Coast right now is preparing for a major hurricane hit. Okay, this Bonnie hurricane. It's going to hit. It'll probably hit on Monday. Maybe it'll hit on Tuesday, but most likely around that time, and it's going to be real bad. Two, it's prepared. It's battened down, and everything's battened down on the East Coast for a major terrorist hit on Monday, and they expect Monday to be the day because that would make a lot of sense. People are going back to work, just like with this guy he helped bomb the World Trade Center, this dude. So he's not really afraid of taking something out here on the East Coast. But I know what it is. It's because the vortex is going to open fully for 19 days. And people like what was her name? I'm sorry. The other girl that sort of, Patty and myself, you know, we have, since we're sensitive to this particular alien type agenda, you know, they want us off the East Coast so that we can then go back in a few days or so when the power is not so bad and continue doing our work.
Okay, next question. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laurel. This question is for Danny, but anyone else on the panel can answer it if they'd like. Regarding Y2K, a lot of people are talking about the fact that nuclear warheads could possibly be sent off by mistake because of the problem with the grid. I'd like to get your opinion on that. And also, do you see well, first of all, okay, 3 parts. How long do you see, if you do see Y2K affecting us, how long would it last? And thirdly, is this the way they're going to bring in the chip? In other words, with all this chaos, let's identify people more readily?
What you're seeing take place right now, especially as far as the new supercomputer they have in Spain, it will look like total chaos is hitting here within the United States. You're going to see banks. When martial law sets in and you try to go to the bank to get your money out, it's going to freeze. You're going to find out you'll only get out what they tell you can get out. They will never let it get to the point. It will look like it's getting to the point that it's getting out of control. NORAD and the civil defense throughout the United States, they already know can be controlled. The same thing that's happening throughout NATO. That's a known fact. When they hooked up all the computers through the supercomputer, and they had turned this thing on and the test worked, you're going to watch control that you could never, ever possibly imagine. So as far as a misfire no, I don't see that taking place. This is going to be planned, very well calculated, and when the attack takes place, we're going to know it. As far as this happening, you're going to see there's going to be 3 waves that's going to hit Israel. When these 3 waves begin to march towards Israel, at the time this is happening, you've got to understand the United States, the world is going through earth changes. And the United States is going to be weak. We're going to lose a lot of land mass. And while this is taking place, you're going to see a country that everybody kind of looks down on, Great Britain. The United States is going to do everything they can because this war is going to be escalating. And the United States is going to be there to help. But in order for the United States not to lose face, Great Britain is going to find a way for us to bow out, because we've got to get back here. When we are at our weakest point within the United States, you're going to see the attacks begin to take place. So no, misfires, mistakes, computer problems, no, they know exactly what's happening.
Thank you. Next question, please.
This regards chipping also. I have a friend that recently had surgery, and she didn't want to have this surgery, so she asked if she could have a lesson from this. And she told me this just the other day. As she was coming out of the surgery, she had a vision that a bright blood red chip had been implanted in her forehead. So my question is this something that we have to be concerned about? Do things like this happen, and who would be doing that?
Have you seen anything like that? Are you aware of anything like that?
Right now, they're starting to make it mandatory throughout the German military. And what they're saying is, for troop strength and troop identification, they are already beginning to implant the new Euro military with this chip. They are also right now beginning in certain government agencies within the United States, they are again beginning to implant this chip. If you prove yourself to be a problem to the United States, they'll find a way that you can get the chip. But what they're doing now within Europe, all this is just a simple injection. It looks like a syringe. It has a very, very small microchip.
Nanotechnology.
Yeah. What was it?
Nanotechnology.
But they're doing it now. And I've seen a few cases that's going on right now down in Atlanta. And they seem to think it's a big deal. You know, it's a status symbol. They can go into Walmart, a Kmart, or whatever, run their hand across the scanner, and, you know, it's not. What I've been told, if you have this done to you, whether it's by force or by your own will, you might as well be dead, because it's the mark of the beast.
You remember what the Bible said, there will be those who will refuse the mark of the beast. Yeah. And also, I got a letter that said, it was according to the ancient Chaldean Hebrew Kabbalah numerology, that this woman in Australia broke down the word World Wide Web, www, all of the letters in World Wide Web came out to 666. And so we have www in front of all of our internet addresses. It really means 666.
Oh, I got another one. I had told this down when we was in Daytona. There was a massive protest had taken place with the Greek Orthodox Church in Greece. There was over 1,000 priests and nuns had marched against their church, because if you're not familiar, all the boundaries, all the borders have been dropped right now within Europe. And now you need an identification card. Well, when the church issued all of these identification cards to all these Greek Orthodox priests and nuns, there was one slight problem with these cards. All the cards, over 1,000 that was issued, had the numbers within the series of numbers 666. And they refused acceptance of these. And that's what started the riot. Well, it turned into a riot, if you can picture a nun rioting. But,
one of the things you mentioned, Danny, reminded me to perhaps share the information with people about Ed McCabe, who has spoken with us on the subject of oxygen therapies. They've got him in jail, and he hasn't been charged in 2 or 3 months, and they're giving him diesel therapy. The local radio station finally caught up with him a couple of weeks ago, and he was able to call the radio station from the prison that he was in, and now they can't find him. They've moved him on. He's been in several prisons, and he has not been charged with anything yet. Now, a lot of people know Ed McCabe because he's spoken here in a lot of other places. So you reminded me to share people.
I've got some lawyers I'd like to be able to track him down.
Okay. Well, we'd like to help him if we can.
Okay, give me some more information after we're done.
Next question. And
yeah, that was hard news for me to take because I'm aware of the man. My heart is just pounding and my hands are ice cold. I have I have a large organic garden that I started out of great concern for what's going on, and I am just petrified. I've consumed so much information at this conference and everything. I'm going to ask you point blank. I am terrified about what they're going to do with social services for all the people that are on disability, the people that receive SSI, and what diabolical things they plan to do. And when is the big cutoff? I need to know that. I'm hanging by a thread, and I need to, you know, I'm filled with all this consciousness here, and I, you know.
Okay, you're Katrina, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that-
I'm Katrina Perry.
Yeah. All right, does anybody know that?
That's for anybody.
Does anybody have a specific answer for that?
You're going to see not so much as a cutoff. You're going to see around the 3rd to the 4th month of the year 2000 when these things, the devastation is going to take place as far as Y2K. But this is what you've got to remember. While the banks is falling, transportation's falling, everything looks like it's falling, you're going to see a great revelation take place. And everything is all of a sudden is going to come back to normal again. Even though it's going to be for a very short time. But this person that's going to be rising up, and like I said, you'll see him in the 6th month. It's going to look like he is the most wonderful spiritualist hero that God could ever put on the earth. He is going to be everyone's hero. And he is going to be looking for people like yourself, not meaning anything bad, but he'll look for people like you to play upon. But no, as far as a major cutoff, no, I don't foresee that happening, because this is the purpose of what they've done with the supercomputer.
Good, I guess I should, oh, I'm sorry.
I agree with what Danny's saying. The Antichrist Nostradamus described to me said, remember, you must remember in the beginning he will appear as a savior, the man with all of the answers, and he will try to draw people over to him with charisma. He said, you must remember that. That's the same way Hitler came to power in the beginning.
I know we should have started this panel at noon, I guess, but I'm going to allow one more question, and that's what we have to quit and wind up with our closing here.
Hi, I'm Marjorie. You haven't really addressed the physical earth changes that you are seeing coming, and what I'm wondering, we don't seem to have any protection against the winds that I've heard, 400-mile-an-hour wind, if the jet stream comes down to the surface. Do you see that, or what can we do about it? You won't even survive underground.
Well, you just got to have faith that there is something that we can do about it. That's it, faith. I mean, there's so many different aspects to that, answers to that, the dome homes, underground dwellings, but let's just hope that this doesn't happen.
Yeah, in my books, we'd have all of the possible scenarios. We also have maps of the shift of the world. Mine are called the worst case scenarios. What would happen if nothing else is done? But I agree that we don't want these things to happen, but mankind is doing a lot himself to increase these things by what we're doing to the atmosphere and the environment. But there could be many, many possibilities, and we'll just have to hang in there and try not to let these things occur.
I just would like to add one thing. Please remember that fear is your worst enemy. And if you can keep a consciousness of love, fear, you heard the saying, you attract what you fear. So if you can stay centered and loving and at peace with yourself, know that you are protected. All of us have guardian angels and protectors. And if you are not meant to be harmed or to go at that period of time, you will be protected and there's nothing to fear. So sometimes I know it's easier said than done, but if you will do work on yourself and work on not being fearful and look on this as a joyous purification of earth, and we're heading in towards a beautiful time, and don't fear it, but actually look forward to it, and you can be glad when it's over, but know that it's all part of the process. But please, do your best not to fear. That's very important.
Right, that's what if you heard Danny now or before, he says, if you're not afraid of dying, they can't do anything to you. Now then, I'd like to close this with the statement that Daniel left with us. And I would like to have each of you stand as I read this and then remain standing for a moment of silence while you focus your thoughts, your energies, your prayers on the healing of the world, of ourselves first, then the world. This is Daniel's statement that he left with us, and I thought it would make a good close. I will always love each of you. The future will be fine if we keep our hearts open. You would not be here if you were not chosen to make a difference at this time. Make that difference, as always. And he does his signature there. Shall we bow in a moment of silent, focused prayer, each in his own words and each in his own way. Thank you very much. Amen. Now, remember that the center people who want to work on the upcoming centers or want to plan for them and talk with them, there is a meeting that will be held in a room just down the hall, and you'll see them if you go down there. That's the purpose of that, is to change or exchange names. Do you thank the panel for sharing with us? I would challenge any place to have that reservoir of information available to them. Remember to get your tape orders, and I understand a buffet will not be out in the atrium tonight, but may be in the Damon's restaurant on down the hall. Bill, me, and Nora, you have books at the bookstore. There will also be a study or subject of the Geneva Bible at this time.